Hello again, and welcome to the next part of Farm Boy. If you haven't watched the first video that I did yesterday, you might want to catch up with that first so that this part of the story makes more sense. We'd got to the part where, show you the picture to remind you, the bet had been made. Remember, it's between a Fordson tractor, which was brand new at the time, and two horses, Joey and Zoe. I had just read, your mother's going to be awful vexed at me. Hope you figured out what vexed means, really annoyed and cross. I shouldn't have done it, I know I shouldn't, don't know what came over me. So, here's what comes next. He was right. Mother was as angry as I ever saw her. She told him just what she thought of him. How could we afford going to give away 100 good bales? He was bound to lose. No horse in the world could plough as fast as a tractor. Everyone with any sense would know that. Father kept his peace and he never argued with her. He just said he couldn't go back on it, not now. What was done, and he'd have to make the best of it. But I tell you something, Maisie, he says to her, that Harry Medlicott with his fancy car and his fancy waistcoat and his fancy tractor, he's going to be worrying himself silly now. From now until November, you see if he won't. But you'll be the silly one when you lose, won't you? Says Mother. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, Father says back, and he gives her a little smile. Be something if I win it though, wouldn't it? In June we had a good harvest of hay off higher redlands, and Mother didn't seem quite so worried anymore after that. But at home, none of us said a word about the ploughing match. Mother just didn't want to hear about it. I could tell that. But I can mind Father and me talking of nothing else all summer and all autumn. Father would say things like, well, if any horses can do it, then it's Joey and Zoe. And he'd say, you can come out on top after 4 years in the mud of Flanders like Joey has. Then you can win a little ploughing match standing on your head in your sleep. I tried to believe him, but I just couldn't. We went easy on Joey and old Zoe, worked them slow and fed them like kings so as their coats were shining as bright as the sun. And the ploughing match between Father and Harry Medlicott was all the talk at school. But I had a hard time of it. Everyone said Father was on a hiding to nothing, even Billy Bishop, and he were my best friend. Even Billy said Father must have been mazed in the head if he thought he could win. And I'd say something like, you don't know Joey like I do, or we got 2 horses, he got 1 tractor. Or when I could think of nothing else to say, I would just say, wait and see. But I never believed any of it, even when I was saying it. I knew in my heart of hearts, like everyone did, that this was hopeless. Joey was maybe 15 by now, and Zoe 20 near enough. But even if they'd been half their age, it wouldn't have been much help. Horses cannot plough as fast as tractors. That was all there was to it. There was lots of friends at schools wanting us to win. Just about everybody liked Father more than Harry Medlicott. But even they all said we haven't got a chance. And I knew they were right. November the 6th it were gonna be. I can mind that well enough because the night before was bonfire night and I was watching Father sharpen up the plough for the last time, and I could see the fire from the big house on the hill in the silver of the ploughshare. Got another picture for you here. Bale of hay that they've harvested. Old Farmer Northley had picked out Candlelight Field on Mr. Arnold's farm as the best place. 3 acres, almost square, with hedges all around by the river. There was people coming from miles around to watch it, and I knew we couldn't win. Not a chance in a million. It'll be all right, you know, says Father, and he smiles at me out of the bonfire in the ploughshare. We're going to win. You'll see. He weren't just putting a brave face on it. He really thought we would win. Let's say goodnight to Joey and Zoe, he says, and wish 'em luck. And we did. I prayed that night like I've never prayed before. I was up at 4 o'clock the next morning to help Father feed up the horses with corn mash and hay. We brushed them down, and then we went in for breakfast. When we finished, Mother had our pasties ready for our lunch. She saw us off at the door. She wouldn't come and watch, she said. She had things to do about the house. And she kissed Father on the cheek and went away indoors. Father was a bit taken aback by that kiss, and I was too. She didn't do kissing very often. There we go. We walked the horses down across Borrow Brim Close towards Candlelight Field. Father and Joey together, and me behind with Zoe. It weren't just the village folk that were there. It were dozens of other folk too, from miles around. You can see just how many. Here. Picture that image while I drink my favourite cup of tea. Harry Medlicott was waiting for us, hand in his pockets and leaning up against his green Fordson with his band of cronies all around him. He had such a grin on his great fat face. I could have kicked him, honest I could. Old Farmer Northley had us all lined up and we were ready 6:30. It were grey all around, but you could see the field was parted in two with a single furrow. As many good furrows as you can plough by 3:30 this afternoon, says old Farmer Northley. The tractor to the corporal, if he wins. 100 bales of best hay to Mr. Medlicott, if he wins. And then he ups with his flag and waves it. Father calls out to Joey and Zoe, and they take off up the field. Harry Medlicott takes his turn. He takes his time and gives the starting handle one good turn. Then the Fordson starts up, easy as you like. He gives a great big wave of his hat and he climbs up and he's off too. There's the scene for you. As the sun came up through the trees, everyone could see plain enough that Father, he was already a long way behind. Does this remind you of another story? A race where everyone thought there'd be one winner? Let me know about it in the blog. Let me know what you're thinking. The tractor was ploughing faster, and he was turning faster on the headlands too. Father was falling further and further behind all the time. There was nothing he could do about it, but he kept going, talking to the horses as he ploughed, sweetening them on like he always did. Go on then, Joey, giddy up. There's the boy. Good old girl, Zoe. The crowd, now they were on Father's side. Most of them anyway. Everyone loves a loser, I thought, and there were tears coming in my eyes, and I couldn't stop them neither. They were all clapping and whistling every time we turned round. But it didn't do Father nor the horses much good. I wanted to run off. I didn't ever want to look, but I had to. I was there at the end of the furrow each time Father came back. And he'd give us a smile, and I would try to give a good one back. They weren't all easy, I can tell you. By the time old Farmer Northley called a stop for lunch, everyone could see the match was as good as over already. Harry Medlicott and his green Fordson had almost finished their half of the field. He had ploughed 48 furrows. Father, he'd done 15. I watched Harry Medlicott as he sat up against the hedge, eating his lunch with his friends all around him, and I hated him more than ever. You could hear 'em laughing out loud clear across the field. I sat with father, eating our pasties. We had a bigger crowd round us, 'tis true, but we hadn't got much to celebrate, had us? More like a funeral it was. Joey and Zoe stood nearby, munching into their feed sacks, and then father and me led them down to the river for a good drink. There we go. Joey and Zoe having their drink. Thirsty work, ploughing a field. They needed it. Drank and drank they did, and we watched 'em. A kingfisher went by, quick as a twick he went, and sat on a branch. Good luck that is, says father. He puts his hand on my shoulder. I am not done yet, not by a long chalk. You know the story of the hare and the tortoise, do you? That's the one I was talking about earlier. No, says I. Well, I do, he says, and he gets down on his knees and he drinks with the horses. After a bit, he stood up and he was wiping his mouth with his hand. Suddenly, he's smiling. Now, I'm not going to tell you why he's smiling, nor what happens next. Not yet. I'll do that one tomorrow. Maybe you could be thinking about what you think might come next. What's caused Grandpa to start smiling? What would you like to happen next? Let me know. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.